All right, so I'm bringing this back because somehow my phone that I'm recording on, a phone call came in and it messed with my video. So the long and the short are, we went from Jamil going professional with brewing, but you're kind of in the professional realm with Anvil.
Yeah.
Joining it with Blickman.
Yeah. Well, John Blickman and I have been friends for 20 years or so. We met back in 2001, and over the years, I as a materials engineer and John as a mechanical engineer, we would collaborate on a project, ideas for products, and finally we decided that my name could be a help to some of his products, and we looked at the market and said, you got the Blickman line, which is like the Cadillac or Mercedes-Benz line of brewing products.
Yeah, it is.
We need that mid-level price point to compete with all the other products out there. The ones that have come along in the last 10, 15 years. And so we came out with the Anvil line, and that has been fun for me as an engineer because I could incorporate some of my product ideas, the stuff that I've made myself for my own brewing. The kettle strainer for one. The top tier system was, that was inspired by Brutus 10 and the guys in there in Texas.
Okay.
Apologies for spacing on the name of the second, but that was, I copied their design and worked on it myself. Made a beautiful system that brewed pretty good beer and took 6 hours to clean. But
wow. That's a long time to clean, but I got you.
Because I tried to hard plumb it with copper and flare fittings.
I got you.
But anyway,
so there were some other parts where you just learned what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, lessons learned, and John and I talked about that, and so he came out with the top tier system.
Okay.
The three, and the aluminum stand,
Yeah.
that was his. But we've worked over the years on
That
various.
top tier system is a gravity system.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with a pump as well.
Okay.
Using recirculations.
Yeah.
We've talked many times over the years about brewing steps because we are both brewers at heart.
Yeah.
Home brewers, do it yourself. How do you make this fun? And so when we finally decided that we needed the Anvil system for that mid-level price point, the Chevrolet instead of Mercedes-Benz
Gotcha.
kind of thing. And that's been a
American
lot of fun.
Heartland stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it's been fun for both of us, and I'm really happy with the Anvil products. I get a little cut, and he takes care of all the hard work, and it's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. And that's been, what is that? Is that
3 years now?
I was going to say 3 or 4 years?
Yeah,
3 years?
about 3 years.
That's awesome. And you guys are continuing to develop new products and the line and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're coming out with a Grainfather type, all-in-one system, RoboBrew.
That's
Grainfather.
awesome.
I forget the name of it. Shit, sorry.
That's okay.
But anyway,
It'll
we're
come
coming
on.
out with this fall.
So you're going to come out with that, and that'll just give people more options and on how to brew stuff.
Both John and I are brewers, and we put our own spin on it. Features, construction, user interface, and not to say that we're necessarily better than the other products on the market, but we do try to be in there, and we're putting our stamp on
Yeah, you
these
want
products.
a quality product
Yeah.
that makes it easier to brew.
Yeah,
At home.
we're brewers just like SS Brewtech and Spike and Stout and all the other guys. Everybody's a brewer. We're putting our own spin on it.
I got you.
So, all good equipment, and it's an option.
So let's get into you started with that book How to Brew, which I showed earlier, and then you got into the book with Jamil
Yep.
on how to brew classic styles, and then you've done water now.
Right.
So today you did a talk about water. You don't have to do anything extensive, but can you kind of maybe condense that and tell people
Sure.
what is appropriate about water to beer? Because I'm going to jump in on this. I have been saying for years that making a beer is like cooking. And if you have a flavor profile for cooking and you do good barbecue or your chili or whatever it is at home, and you have a flavor profile and you make your own thing, you're like, oh, I learned a basic and now I'm going to make it my own. I think you can do the same thing for beer. And I've been saying that for years. And people used to tell me 10 years ago, well, you're going to put what in a beer? I'm like, no, I want to taste that in a beer. Now it's like common to find, fruits and spices and vegetables, even herbs and all that stuff in beers. But I was doing it, people thought I was crazy. Like, that's not classic style. I'm like, well, yes and no. Because it's thousands of years old in the tradition.
That's
even though we got away from it with the Reinheitsgebot, which I can never say properly.
Reinheitsgebot.
There you go. Laws of just having, malt and water and hops, and then they realized it was yeast as well, right?
Right.
But the long and short are, I love that we're getting back to this and what's going. So, can you address that and talk about how water and basically brewing, because it's like cooking, is basically to taste something good, right?
Yeah. So it's very easy to get confused by water. So often, as a home brewer, you'll read on the internet, on forums, that say, "Oh yeah, the water's got to be this to brew that style," and you think that you have to replicate that water exactly.
Yeah.
What you need to understand is that as brewers, brew every week. In terms of like a commercial brewery, they're brewing every week, every day, and we're trying to make the best beer possible. So we're going to adjust the water, we're going to adjust the recipe to make the best beer possible.
Sure.
A style may start out in a region as the marriage of local ingredients and local water, local conditions. But, as brewers, because we're brewing this week after week, we're going to tweak that. We're not going to leave it alone. We're going to try to make the best beer we can. So the point is that water has been adjusted for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Whether it was sand filters, carbon filters, salt additions, changing the water source, acid additions, what have you, or pre-boiling. As brewers, we've been adjusting water for a long time.
Okay. Which I love, because someone said, oh, I hate when the people try to adjust water. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
That's like
it's
natural.
Yeah, it is natural. As you said, brewing is cooking. We are, just like we adjust our recipes to match local ingredients and local conditions, we can adjust our water as brewers to make the best beer. We can do mineral additions, acid additions to help make the beer better.
I love it.
Yeah. Water is, most any water will make good beer. You can make wort and you can ferment that wort into a decent beer. Yeah. It's not hard. Brewing is a very robust process, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
It can be very forgiving.
Right. But when you understand that you are using the water to season the beer, then you can take a good beer and make it great, or you can oversalt it and screw it up.
Yeah.
Just like too much salt in your soup.
For sure.
Same beer and brewing is food and cooking. So understanding that, taste your beer as you're making it. Taste the beer after you've made it. Think about what you're tasting and say, okay, am I getting a minerally aftertaste because I'm adding too much salts to my water?
I got you.
Or is this beer just kind of flabby and lifeless? Should the beer pH be a little bit lower to brighten it up a bit? Or is it kind of singular? Is that flavor of, say, a dark beer like a porter or stout, is that flavor kind of singular and roasty? I put 5 different malts in this beer, but I can only taste roast.
Yeah.
That's an indication you may need to raise that beer pH a little bit, open up those beer flavors and get a little more complexity. That's what water adjustment can do for you, but it's a very subtle thing. It's a small adjustment that can have a profound effect. So
So really, it is part of cooking.
It is, and
It's
you're just like
understanding that.
yeah.
Because it can be scary. Some people are like, "Well, I'm not an engineer or a water tech or whatever," but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that difficult, right?
Oh no, it's you cooking at home. Taste what you're cooking. Say to yourself, "Oh, it needs a little more salt, or it needs some more pepper, or it needs some Tabasco." In terms of your beer, taste that wort. Think about the ingredients you put into that beer, and say, what does that water maybe need? What is this beer necessarily need? And how do I achieve that by water adjustment?
But they're not going to do that on that batch. They're going to have to do it on the next batch, right?
Exactly,
So it's
yeah.
about experimentation from batch to batch.
Yeah, it's experimentation, experience, and just like cooking in general. I mean, you may be a 5-star chef, and you may not be.
Yeah. Well, we all started somewhere and we screwed up something, and then you're like, "Oh, I made it on my own," because you made it again and again, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And water adjustment is exactly the same thing. So
I love that we talked about this because I know that I would say there are 4 main properties you really contribute to beer. That would be the malts, that would be the water, that would be the yeast and the hops, or hops and yeast, or however you want to say it, right?
right.
But a lot of people haven't talked about water for a long time, unless it is like, "Oh, I want to make a stout," and
They'll
it needs
throw
more
out a big
calcium or whatever.
spreadsheet and say it's got to be this, this, and this, and this. It's not that complicated. I mean, in the latest edition of How to Brew, I talk about the brew cube, and it's in chapter.
Oh, I love that part of that.
22.
When you talk to it.
And what I'm trying to explain to people, is that you have 3 beer parameters: beer flavor balance, malty, balanced, or hoppy; beer color, pale, amber, or dark; and then structure, for soft, medium, or firm. And structure is kind of hard to understand at first, but it is the difference between light seasoning and heavy seasoning.
Gotcha.
How much the mineral character of the water is supporting the flavors of the beer. Okay? So it's just kind of an order of magnitude thing.
I love
But
it.
you have 3 beer parameters, flavor balance, color, and structure, and those correspond to sulfate to chloride ratio, residual alkalinity, and total calcium level. Now, structure is also related to total dissolved solids, which is like the total amount of minerals in the water, but total calcium level is a good stand-in because as brewers, we're trying to adjust calcium to suit the beer, and the adjustments we make for calcium impact that total dissolved solids
Gotcha.
and impact the sulfate to chloride. So it's all kind of wrapped up in a big package. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking for a 50 ppm calcium, or 100 ppm calcium, or 150 ppm calcium.
ppm is parts per million, if you didn't know, right?
Exactly. That is your soft, medium, and firm structure.
Yeah.
And so, Kolsch, soft. Czech Pilsner, soft. Munich or German Pilsner, medium.
Medium.
Pale Ale, medium. Burton Ale, firm.
Yeah.
Dortmunder Export, firm. Very, more solid mineral structure backing up those flavors. That's what structure is.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that we might even have Brad jump in here for a second,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is one of the brewers here at Skyland. I think he's going to just jump in behind us or on the side. But these guys have been friends for a long time. I've been friends with Brad Nixon. I'm going to kind of move the camera so if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see. But if you're listening on the radio, Brad and I became friends, I don't know, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that.
Something like that.
At the Homebrewers Festival. And he's been making great homebrew beer. And been friends with John probably longer than I've
I've been a
known.
big admirer of Brad and his wife.
Especially
Beer.
my wife.
Yeah.
Well,
for a long
she's
time.
beautiful. Yeah. And cool. So now that you jumped in, I think it's really cool that you guys have been friends for a long time, but you made the jump from home brewer to professional brewer recently.
Right.
I'm just going to put you on the spot there. You need to pop up your head in the camera a little bit more.
Here.
But my point
Let's
is,
trade spots.
oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
trade spots for a second. That's all right. That's,
We could grab another
we can
chair,
do- we
too.
can do- we can do a little.
John
musical
can
chair.
sit on my lap.
But my point is, how's that experience been for you, and how did John influence you with his books or just his friendship?
So the experience has been awesome, first of all. And so the biggest challenge from going from home brewing to doing it professionally is being able to adjust and scale your recipe.
Yeah, just quantity, right?
And so the knowledge that I've gained from reading John's books and talking with John has been invaluable in helping me do that process. And because if you just put it in a recipe calculator, whatever one you're using, and just try to scale it up, well, that does part of the
cool
job.
motorcycle over here now.
It does
Right.
part of the job, but it doesn't do the whole job. And
Yeah.
you have to have some recipe formulation knowledge and other things, and that's stuff I picked up from How to Brew. And I have to say, before I even met John,
Right.
and I was reading How to Brew, and I had started home brewing 13 years ago as an extract brewer. And when I said, no, this is freaking awesome, I love brewing, I want to go all grain, and I read How to Brew, and I read the all grain section of How to Brew 10 times.
Really?
I'm not exaggerating. 10 times before I actually even attempted to brew whole grain, and because I don't want to screw anything up, right? And
They're perfectionists.
so
Yeah, everybody is.
and so yeah, John was a huge influence on me even before I met him. And then when I met him, I was like, he's just a cool dude,
Yeah.
and he knows all this stuff. And so
For sure.
we've been friends ever since. And so yeah, his influence on me before I even met him has been huge in my evolution from home brewing into pro brewing.
So you've won a huge amount of awards as a home brewer. Mm-hmm. How many has that been?
Oh geez, I don't even know.
Come on, it's hundreds.
No, I don't know.
hundreds?
I honestly don't know.
5,
Is
6.
it 5, 6, 7, 8,
I've
1,000?
won 2 medals and
He's won a lot of stuff.
2 best of shows.
Okay, that's good.
That's the only ones I care about. Are the
Okay.
best of shows.
Best of
so.
shows. Well, you make great beer, and we're enjoying this
Vienna.
this fantastic Vienna
That's what I'm
lager.
drinking, too.
All right, my friend, we're all drinking the same thing. So tell us about this beer, because I'm telling you that amber color is so nice, and then the aroma, and you get this nice balance of the caramel malts and the hops, and it's excellent.
Very drinkable.
This is one.
Yeah.
Of, this
is
was
quaffable, to say the
Oh,
least.
yes.
this was always one of my favorite beers to brew as a home brewer, and I had a lot of successes in competition with it, and people always loved to drink it. Then competition's one thing, and drinkability and having people drink it is another thing, right? Sometimes you brew for competition because you want to brew to style. Other times you want to brew for, hey, this is just a great beer and I want to
Yeah.
drink it. And people don't care about style. So for me, formulating this recipe was about drinkability. I didn't want it to be overly sweet, but I wanted a little bit of sweetness there.
No, you get a little bit of that caramel, but it's not. It's a
Yeah,
nice
just
balance.
a little bit. So it's I can't remember the exact percentages, but
That's all right.
it's about 50-50 as far as the base malts of Vienna and Pilsner.
Yep.
And there's a touch of Munich in there,
Nice.
and a slight amount of Carafa for the color.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
makes
really
sense.
it. It's a very basic recipe. And
Okay, you could say it's basic in the way it's simple,
Right.
The simplicity, but it's still complex and
The balance. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't have complexity without balance.
Yeah.
And this is very balanced.
very balanced.
Very drinkable. It's not too sweet. It's not too dry. There's a really nice level of maltiness in it
Yep.
that really makes it work.
I mean, I know you also have an Oktoberfest beer, and you guys are coming up on Oktoberfest. But if you're here, anytime, and then I don't know how long this is going to last, but you should come try this
we
beer.
made 7 barrels of it. It's
Yeah.
all in a serving tank. When it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. It's
Un-
gone.
Until
but
next
it's
year.
good.
Until next year.
Well, I'm telling you, that's a fantastic. What do you call it?
This is we just call it Vienna lager.
Just Vienna lager.
That's it. Simple.
No special name.
No special name. For
Maybe
this
next
one,
year we'll get a special name. I don't know.
Right. I do have to say we do. We'll call it Palmer.
There you go. That's
Actually,
great.
we need to get John
That's
in
great.
here and brew a beer with John.
Yes.
And we'll call
Yeah.
it
I
something
want to do a
special.
compilation with you guys too. I've talked about it with Jim for years before you came in. Just haven't done it. I would love to be here if you guys do a compilation beer together. or be involved, or just tape it.
Just a video. Yeah, for sure.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm surprised you guys haven't done that yet, but I guess now we have it on tape. You guys are gonna have to do it.
Yeah, we're committed now, John.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I mean,
Till death do you part. I mean, here you go. So, I love that you were talking about John's book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and was there anything else that? I mean, what did you think about his talk today with water? Did you learn anything as a brewer or something?
You know, it's funny today. I did learn something because I've heard John talk about water, and I've read the water book twice.
Okay.
I literally read through that book twice. I still can't remember any of it
it's deep.
Well, there's a lot to remember. I mean, there's a lot of. John's an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I'm an entertainer. I do okay with math when it comes to money, but the other stuff is maybe a little bit more. But I've been able to figure it out for beer
Right.
because I like beer. But there's a lot of mathematical equations as an engineer he's putting in there, which
Totally.
is great for us. But
which is why his app is cool and
yeah.
his spreadsheet is awesome.
We didn't talk about the
and
app. We
everything
didn't talk
else,
about the app.
Oh yeah. I put my brewing spreadsheet into AppHorn
Yeah.
and do a search on either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for Palmer Brewing.
Palmer
And
Brewing.
Yeah, Palmer
And the-
Brewing Water Adjustment.
Palmer Brewing Water Adjustment in the App Store.
Yeah.
Whether it's iTunes or if it's Google Play or whatever. Okay.
It works.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that because I just learned about that today and I'm like, what? I need that on my phone. So back to what you were saying. I'm sorry, Brad.
So, well, you asked me what I learned today, and I've when John first wrote the water book, and he was like working on his water talk that he was going to go out and do. He came out to our homebrew club,
Yep.
and he was working on it and trying to figure out, what were the important points to cover and all that stuff. So,
I was like a
but-
3 hour
so
talk.
it was like a 3-hour talk.
So it's a 3-hour talk. He was doing a little bit of research and getting your feedback, right?
Yeah, so and today when he was talking, I'm like, I've heard this before. I'm not gonna learn anything, but I'm still listening intently because I love John. And
That's good to know.
but
Plus, you're hosting him, but yeah.
but when he talked about the malts and that the red malts are actually more acidic than the dark roasted malts,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That's freaking bitching, man, because that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
As to some of the beers that we brew here, I just brewed a brown ale on Friday, and I didn't do any water adjustments because our water is perfect for that type of
gotcha.
beer, and it makes total sense now. But if I had done a stout, for instance, I probably would have added some calcium or something else, some chalk or something,
I got you.
to kind of
So to understanding the
right,
pH
so-
levels with the malts was a big effect.
it
Which we
made
know,
sense. I'm like, oh, light bulb, bing,
Boom. And which we know, and John talked about it, but it makes sense is that growing seasons change from year to year, and,
Yeah.
and the different continents or wherever the grain is
Yeah,
grown.
different barley varieties.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, and for example, in the UK and Europe, I mean, they're overwintering varieties that need actual dormancy before they're able to sprout.
Yeah.
We've bred that out of North American varieties.
Ah.
So that's why we can't grow Maris Otter here in the United States.
Really?
We're not set up for it.
Oh, I see.
They need to stick that Maris Otter barley in a warehouse or a silo for 4 months, and then test it to see if it's ready to germinate.
Sure.
Whereas we've bred that dormancy characteristic out of our barley, North American varieties,
That makes sense.
and so it's ready to plant.
See? We're
a
still
lot
both
of
learning.
science. Yeah,
That's
a lot of
awesome.
science.
You just blew my mind, John.
Yeah. I think it's freaking awesome.
I'm always learning too. I mean, every conference I go to, I learn new stuff.
You know what? That's the great thing about this.
That is the great thing.
The hobby and the industry is there's always something new to learn. And
Yeah.
just when, I never think I know it all, but just when you think you got a handle on it, everything
Right.
shifts.
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, I got to figure this
Someone,
out.
whoa, I have to cut that one out.
Oh, we're on YouTube, don't worry
about it. No, this is going to go on air. But
I'll keep it clean from now on.
But the point is, yeah, we're always learning, and the camaraderie and sharing is awesome. And I appreciate you bringing all that out, John. You know,
Well, that's what the industry is all about, is
It
sharing
is.
knowledge.
I mean,
and, that's what I love about it.
I just learned today that John published this for free when he first did it.
The How to Brew?
Yeah,
Was it first published online, John?
it was
Yeah,
published
it's
online.
online.
I mean, we just had that on the
You're
show.
a pioneer, man.
I'm
I mean-
telling you. And his wife was like, "What are you doing for 5 years?" But now,
right.
No, I don't know if she's laughing to the bank, but at least she's not like, cracking the whip or something.
Nah, and then you're gonna go do your beer thing.
And nothing, we love you, Mrs. Palmer.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing John with us.
Right.
Um,
You want me to get out of your
but
way?
yeah,
You guys can
we'll jump
continue,
up. We'll jump up again. But thanks
right.
for jumping in the show, my friend. And,
Thanks.
you're going to hear more from Brad Nixon.
Yeah, we'll do something else too.
Oh,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, we got
So
pizza out there.
as we
Oh,
hear
cool.
the fan in the background, we're doing musical chairs again. I'm going to say, so it's been great having you on the show. We don't have to stop right now, but we will be coming to a little bit of a conclusion here soon. Is there anything you want to cover that we haven't talked about yet, John?
Well, I think the fact that it's brewing beer is a very robust process, and I mean that in the engineering sense.
Okay.
That a robust process is very forgiving. You can make wort, you can ferment that wort, and it will make beer. It may not be a perfect beer, but it'll be a good beer. Something you can drink and be happy to share with your friends.
Yeah.
All of the books that I've written, all of the advice you see on forums, is all targeted to help you make better beer. And we're splitting hairs to some extent. I mean, yes, there are some very definite improvements
Sure.
when you master certain variables.
Especially if you're going to do like a classic style. Like,
Yeah.
I think that was cool about Jamil. Jamil basically, when you guys did classic styles, but he was basically, I'm going to brew every style of beer.
Yeah.
And
Jamil-
then he wanted to win a medal in every style of beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Jamil and I were talking about, I wanted to write a book about how to brew with extract steeping grains.
Yeah.
Because that is the biggest margin for homebrew shops.
I got you.
So to help them, I wanted to write how to brew with extract. But I told Jamil, it's like, I can create a recipe, no problem. But I'm very casual about it. I said, Jamil, you've got killer recipes, and I would like to get some of your recipes. He goes, well, I've got a winning recipe in every style. He had, as his personality, he looked at competitions as a learning experience.
Gotcha.
And he would brew each style again and again and again.
Yeah.
Send it to different competitions, get that feedback from the judges, and perfect that recipe until it was taking first place consistently.
Yes.
Then he would move on to the next style. So,
And that's dedication.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It took
way,
years,
way
just
beyond
like
me.
you.
Way
but,
beyond me.
but both of you took maybe a little bit of a different approach to get to the same place, but
Yeah.
But you guys had such a passion and a dedication that it's taken 20, 30 years to get to where you're at.
Oh yeah, exactly. And he developed those recipes to where they were extremely solid. And every recipe in Brewing Classic Styles is a solid recipe for that style. And so, to this day, in fact, earlier today I was saying, okay, I need a recipe for an oatmeal stout. What Jamil do? I mean, I look at that as my basis and saying, okay, 10% oats, 7% caramel malt, just as a guideline.
As a guide, to be able to create something.
Not 20% caramel malt, but 7, 6 to 10, somewhere in that
Sure.
ballpark.
Yeah.
Because that's what he determined. That's what he took the time to define. My own interest in brewing has always been about the brewing process itself.
I gotcha.
The mash, how mash pH affects the process. I mean, I get geeky about that kind of stuff.
I think it's great to be geeky about that kind of stuff. I do have a question. How did you and Jamil get involved to writing that book together?
We were talking about it at the Great American Beer Festival back in 2006, and we just realized that when he said I got a winning recipe in every style, I thought that's a good hook.
Yeah.
I mean that is a hook that will sell books, and bring the reader in. So that's how we structured it. When we just sat down and started outlining it. I wrote the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters, and he wrote the whole middle part.
Gotcha.
So they're all his recipes. I just kind of laid the framework on how to do it from an extract and steeping grain point of view.
Oh, interesting. I think that part I didn't know before. That's
Yeah.
really cool to learn as well.
Yeah.
So, before we go, I would like you to give out your so I want to tell people, if you want to be able to find his books, he and Jamil Zainasheff wrote Brewing Classic Styles, but John Palmer wrote How to Brew,
Yep.
right? So, and that's in his
And-
third publication or variation.
It's the fourth.
Fourth, my bad.
edition.
Fourth edition.
Yeah.
And then you also have Water,
With Colin Kaminsky. Yeah.
which is pretty awesome.
That is a water textbook. Yes, I'm sorry, it does get into the nitty gritty
Yeah, that's
details
okay.
of the science, but we knew when we wrote it that it had to be bulletproof. I mean, it had to have a very solid science background because there really wasn't another book that addressed some of those
Well,
issues.
but it's also part of the series. There's the
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
the yeast,
Malt,
malt,
hops,
and hops.
Yeah.
Right, those four.
the 4 brewing ingredients.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's awesome that you're involved with one of those there. So I know we're going to run out of power here on my phone soon, but can you give them about Anvil and your book or anything, any websites or
Okay.
social media that you want to give them?
Well, Anvil Brewing Products, anvilbrewing.com. That's part of my own design, some of John Blickman's joint venture. Lamont Company, the Brew Lab test kit for water, very useful. I've got the Palmer Premium Brewing Kits with through Brewmaster Wholesale. You'll find them at your local homebrew shops. What else? The Beersmith brewing videos. I did those with Brad Smith. Another
That's
good
right.
friend-
It's
good
been a
friend
long
of
time.
mine.
Brad's a really cool guy.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
friend of mine. We did those a couple of years ago. So if you like, learning by watching videos, we walk you through both extract and all grain.
And where do they find that one?
You can find them online at beersmith.com.
Okay.
You may find them in your local homebrew shop as well.
Okay.
I believe they're also available through Vimeo.
All right. So you guys have options to look at that. Okay. And then what else? You have there's the Palmer. Isn't you have your own website or anything?
Oh yeah, well, howtobrew.com. Yes, that's and howtobrew.com is really like version 1 of How to Brew. It's the original edition plus a couple tweaks just to keep it accurate.
Okay.
But the current edition, volume 4, 2017, is for publication.
It's the most up to date.
It is the most up to date. 600 pages, 200 pages more than the previous edition.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah.
Which I haven't read those 200 pages, so I'm gonna have to go back. I have to get the new version,
But,
even though he
you know.
sold out of books today, so I have to wait.
Yeah.
But
But I'm always learning. I tried to roll what I learned into the new edition. I hope you enjoy it. Glad to be part of the hobby, man.
awesome. Thank you for coming in, my friend, and being on the show. It's been years, but it's been worth the wait to have you on. And as I always tell you guys out there, drink good beer, right? Eat good food, hang out with good people like John here, and drink more good beer.
I should
Right.
also mention.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
that-
cheers, but go ahead. What are you gonna mention?
Well, they have those wind turbine farms out by Palm Springs.
Yeah.
They've been trying to improve the efficiency of those turbines for quite some time. They tried playing country music by them, trying to improve the efficiency. Really didn't work because they're really big heavy metal fans.
Wait, but okay, if you're gonna end on a joke though, you gotta tell me about the one you did in there. I forgot to mention it.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple PHs rocking the bar. Is that what it is? I'm trying to remember. Tell us this joke, because this is a great joke today. This is a good way to end.
2 hydrogen atoms walk out of a bar. One says, "Oh, I left my electron in there," and he goes, "What? Are you sure?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm
I'm
positive."
positive. If you guys don't get that, look it up. All right, until next time, my friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.